Well, thank you very much for your interest in Myanmar, often called a forgotten conflict, so it's very important that you have keep this situation in the news, and it's a matter, obviously, of concern, should be, to the international community. Our mechanism was established by the Council with the mandate to collect evidence of the most serious international crimes committed in Myanmar since 2011 and analyze that in order to facilitate criminal prosecutions in national or international courts. When we were created, it was largely in response to the Rohingya crisis and the long history of civilians suffering in the conflicts in Myanmar. But what wasn't anticipated at the time was the 2021 coup, which has led to a great increase in violence and the suffering of civilians in Myanmar. So our work is concentrated on these two different main aspects. What has happened to the Rohingya since in 2012, 2016, 2017, and ongoing conflict in Rakhine State, and also the violence related to the post-coup situation and the conflict between various armed forces opposed to the military junta and the military forces. One of the areas that we're concentrating on is, because of the suffering that's happening in Myanmar, are the airstrikes that are occurring. And we note in particular there are many airstrikes hitting schools. Children are often the victims of these airstrikes, and also hospitals. So our team is collecting that evidence of where it has occurred, the kind of munitions that are used. We're looking at the command structure and how the orders would be given for such airstrikes. We're also very concerned, of course, with crimes in detention. Tens of thousands have been arrested since the coup. In detention, we have collected testimonies of individuals who talk about torture, seeing it, or themselves being the victims of it, and sexual violence in detention. And that's another area where we're collecting evidence in order to share it with courts that may have the ability and the willingness to exercise jurisdiction over those offenses. We rely very much on brave individuals who are willing to talk to us and share their testimonies. We've collected information from over 1,600 sources. We try to make every effort to keep our interactions as safe as possible, but we know that these individuals are taking risks to speak to us, and we're very grateful to them for their willingness to do so. We're not a court, we're not police, so we depend upon courts, judicial authorities taking an interest in our case and having the willingness to prosecute the cases. So far, we're sharing evidence with three distinct entities: the International Criminal Court, which has an investigation about the Rohingya in 2017 and earlier violence against the Rohingya. We know that back in November of 2024, the ICC prosecutor announced a request. He was requesting an arrest warrant for Min Aung Hlaing. We're also sharing evidence with the Federal Prosecutor's Office in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, which has responded to a complaint filed by Rohingya victims living in the UK and in Bangladesh, with no connection to Argentina. But the Argentine courts have said because the allegations are crimes against humanity, it means just that. And under the Argentine Constitution, they said there's an obligation to investigate. So we've shared our evidence with the Federal Prosecutor's Office in order to enable them to conduct an investigation. And then finally, we shared a great amount of evidence in our analysis with the parties at the International Court of Justice. That case is a little different. It's not a criminal case, a civil case, where the Gambia has alleged that as a signatory to the Convention for the Prevention and Punishment of Genocide, that Myanmar, another signatory, has violated its obligations. You all know that in January, the court held hearings where it discussed the evidence. There was quite a lot of discussion about evidence and analysis that we had provided to the court. And it's been reported that the court is hoping to issue a decision on the case this year. We continue to look for other opportunities to share our evidence, including looking at is there a possibility that those that are providing the means for crimes from outside Myanmar could be in violation of national laws, such as sanctions or possibly money laundering, by providing weapons and materials that are fueling the conflict. So we've been in discussions with national authorities in several jurisdictions at an early stage about potential investigations in those countries. With that, I'll open it up for questions from you. Thank you again for your interest.